Now, what we're going to do now is look at some examples of how other brands have leveraged native content for their objectives. I'll talk through what the objectives are, show the examples and why it worked, and hopefully you'll find some helpful tips there. So first up, another New York Times piece. Do not worry, we will talk about some other publishers as well, but they do some great content. And this was a piece of content that was on the New York Times, and it was for Airbnb. So the objectives here were about changing perception of Airbnb in New York City and also driving awareness. So this was again, beautiful piece of content, real custom format, video clips, great historical photos, timelines, little maps. And what it really did here was it included a look at how, immigrants over the years have made New York City their home. How they arrived, their journeys, how they landed at Ellis Island, but they also used current Airbnb information, looking at how Airbnb hosts now welcome people to New York City. So a really great example of in-depth journalism and crafting from the T Brand studio, but to fit the brand's objectives. And so that's a really important thing, and you'll hear me talk about it a lot throughout the talk. Next up, we have a piece of content that was on a Time Inc. property, Fortune, and this was for Warner Brothers. Now, this was for the driving awareness of the, old movie now, but new movie then, Superman versus Batman. What they wanted to do was introduce the characters, change perception, and of course, drive ticket sales. Now, this was a really fun piece of content. It was written in the style as if Lex Luthor Jr. was a real person and LexCorp Company was a real company. And so they approached it as if they were interviewing sort of a CEO of a tech startup company. So it felt like something you would read on Fortune. So it felt real natural for the audience. And what was really great here was it was light-hearted, done in the format that the audience would understand, included some social from Lex Luthor retweeting pieces of content. Again, light-hearted, but a real opportunity here would have been, with working with Time Inc., there's so many properties within there, and a great piece so that you can also remember that we're not just doing brand awareness, but that native content can convert. Would have been, if they produced native content across all of the different sites, and that anytime anyone shared the piece of content, they could have added a cookie to them so that when the movie was released, 2 or 3 days before the movie was released, they could have retargeted them with banners and pre-rolls to drive sales. So a nice way of bringing people into the content and then converting them at the end. Next up, always an important one, 12 cocktails that will restore your faith in tequila if it so needs to be restored. Now, this is a BuzzFeed list, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with. And in this list, what it was trying to do was, obviously, I think it's in the title, but really making sure that tequila was being seen as not just a shots drink, but that there are plenty of other recipes and cocktails that you can have with tequila. And so real simple, again, using that list format, but a really important thing here as well. So a lot of the time some brands go, are we going to have enough assets? What are we going to do? What are we going to produce the content? Well, where are we going to get the ideas? Well, the great thing for any food, drink brands is that you've probably already got these assets. You've got recipes, you've got imagery. So this is a really great way of approaching these fun sites that do some great lists and asking them to produce something like that that's really going to fit their audience and is going to drive high engagement. Really important thing for this is making sure that when you do a list, is making sure that each number in the list includes its own social sharing buttons, because you'll find a lot of the time people are just looking to share that one cocktail or something to their friends, and that can help increase those earned impressions, which we discussed before. So another piece of content, which again can rely on some assets that you may already have, is this piece of content that was on Pure Wow, and this was for Sargento tasting snacks. And again, it was using those assets, but it did it in a little bit more of a creative way. So on this piece of content, you could start and go, what are you craving? Do you want some sweet snack or a salty snack? And then based on what you chose, it would give you snacks that fit in with that. Really nice thing here was it was, really cleanly laid out, and they didn't just include the Sargento snack products, they also included some different recipes as well, so that connection just felt a little bit more seamless for the audience. Again, as we can see here, they've got these little pin recipes for each one, and just a nice piece of content that, got the objectives of educating on the new Sargento snacks, which include sort of sweet and salty snacks that you can get in the supermarket, but also just sort of elevating it a bit for the pure wow audience. So this piece of content is, Ben has probably heard me talk about a million times because it's one of my favorite pieces of content. And this was a collaboration between Refinery 29 and Puma. And it was called the 30-day challenge that will transform your body. Now, the objectives here were around driving consideration with the Refinery 29 audience, introducing the audience to the new Puma collection, and driving sales of the new collection. So I think you'll agree it had quite a few jobs to do there. And it was done really well. So the piece of content, you know, what they allowed was Puma to be integral to it, and it was a great fit with the brand and the publisher's audience, and it also included shop now functionality. Now, this isn't something we see a lot of in native content, but we definitely think this is a underutilized opportunity. Branded content doesn't just have to be about changing the brand perception. When it's done in the right format, with the right publisher fit, it can be about converting readers to buyers immediately. Now, also, this piece of content was useful to the audience. It included a 30-day exercise guide, visuals of the exercises listed, the clothes you should be wearing whilst doing it, and you could then shop the looks within the article. So rather than just having the little text links, which you can see for some of the other products, for any of the Puma products, it was that really nice crafted shop now buttons, really driving users through to that. And so they really linked all aspects here and created a great piece of content for the Refinery 29 audience. Now, next up, we have the Ultimate Guide to Cognac. Now, this was a post for Remy Martin on Thrillist. And here it was really about driving consideration with a Thrillist audience and educating the demographic on cognac and cocktail recipes, as cognac is seen as a slightly older, an older drink. It was a great piece of content that shows how you can take info from the brand, with the publisher's tone to create, a well-crafted piece of content, which included Cognac 101, a bit of a history of the drink, some great cocktail recipes, and it gave a Thrillist audience an introduction to the alcohol and on how they should be drinking it. So this is another piece you've probably seen. It was definitely doing the rounds. This was another Netflix piece. Netflix are clearly doing some incredible work with native content. And this was for the show Narcos, which is about Pablo Escobar. If anyone hasn't seen it, I can definitely recommend it. It's very good. And this was a piece called Cocainenomics, and it ran on Wall Street Journal. And it was really about the economics of the cocaine industry and how it really transformed basically the drug business, if you will. It looks at the history of Pablo Escobar. It looks at timelines. It includes visuals from the Narcos show, nice little reminders of that. It includes little video clips as well. So again, that great reminder of the show and connection. And it looks at things like maps and logistics. And at the end, you can also test your knowledge as well. And those little reminders just throughout make the connection with the show feel natural, but also leave you knowing, what the show is about and why you should be watching it. Again, a great example of producing the kind of content for the publisher's audience. Looking at the economics of something really here for the Wall Street Journal audience was a great fit. So another piece of content more in line with sort of that Puma and maybe a little bit of that Pure Wow piece that we saw before with the Sargento snacks. This was part of Pure Wow's back to school shopping survival guide, and it was called What College Looks Like in 2016. Now, the nice thing about this audience was about this piece of content was they actually managed to appeal to students about to start a college, and also the parents of the students, sorry. So that it kind of appealed to both people there, the students who are going and the people who are probably buying them the stuff as well. And so it includes some great social sharing, sponsored by IKEA, and it included visuals of how these products would look, and then again, like that Puma piece, those great little shop the looks directly there. And this had some visuals showing how your room's going to look, making things seem really modern and fresh, and then just going straight through to that conversion point. So, driving awareness that IKEA is a great place to stock up on everything before you head back to school, and also that you can do it online and just drive that conversion as well.